My name is Megan Foster. I am 52 years old and I own a commercial waste management company that I built from a single beat up truck and two borrowed dumpsters. It is not glamorous work. My days smell like diesel fuel and municipal contracts, but it is solid, it is honest, and it made me very successful. 2 years ago, I met Ryan Daniels. He was 29, bright smile, perfect teeth, always slightly overdressed for wherever he was going. He said he worked part-time in marketing, but what he really wanted was to be an influencer. His phone was always angled just right. His life was always framed. I found his energy intoxicating. I paid the rent on our downtown apartment. I covered the payments on his black luxury SUV. I funded the vacations that conveniently doubled as content trips. I told myself I was supporting his dreams. Now I understand I was underwriting them. Our worlds never quite fit. My friends are contractors, plumbers, small business owners. We drink regular beer and argue about football scores. His friends rotated in glossy waves, influencers, brand reps, people who said things like engagement metrics and aesthetic consistency. When those worlds collided, he would tense. Just slightly, just enough. The breaking point came on his 29th birthday. He wanted the Oak Room, not a table for two, a party for 12. I want a night I'll never forget, he told me. He had no idea how right he was. I handled everything. I knew Carlos, the manager. I booked a private section. Left my card on file as required. The unspoken understanding, I would take care of it. The night of the dinner, I wore a tailored black suit and my diamond stud earrings. I wanted him to feel proud walking in beside me. When I arrived, he was already there, holding court, champagne in hand, laughing loudly. He looked beautiful. He kissed my cheek. You're amazing for doing this. The dinner was theater. They talked about brand deals, about sponsored trips, about curated authenticity. I felt like a translator had forgotten to show up. Then it happened. A woman named Madison tilted her head and asked, "So how did you two meet?" The table went quiet. Ryan laughed, high, polished, practiced. "Oh, this is Megan," he said, waving at me like I was staff. "She's my sponsor. She makes all of this possible." Laughter exploded. Sharp, cruel, knowing. Sponsor. Not girlfriend, not partner, not the woman he loved. Sponsor. I felt the heat crawl up my neck. I waited for him to fix it. He didn't. He just smiled and sipped his champagne. And in that moment, something inside me went perfectly still. The rest of the meal blurred. 2 more courses, 3 more rounds of drinks. I watched them laugh, watched him glow under their approval. At the end, the server placed the bill down. Ryan didn't even glance at it. He slid it to me. "Here you go, babe." $2,000. I nodded. Then I stood. "I need to use the restroom," I said. Instead, I walked straight to Carlos. "Everything all right tonight, Megan?" he asked warmly. "Everything is wonderful," I replied. "I just need to pay for my portion. My steak, my 2 glasses of whiskey." He blinked. "Your portion?" "Yes, the rest is Mr. Daniel's birthday party." Understanding flickered in his eyes. He printed my bill, $180. I tipped $200. "For you and your staff," I said quietly. Then I walked out. The silence in my car felt like oxygen. My phone started buzzing 15 minutes later. "Where are you? Are you coming back? What did you do?" I ignored them all. At home, I poured a drink and sat in the quiet. For the first time in 2 years, I felt clear. I was done being a sponsor. The 2 days after Ryan's birthday dinner were a masterclass in entitlement colliding with consequence. My phone vibrated itself nearly off the kitchen counter that Saturday night. I let it. I watched his name flash across the screen over and over while I sat in the dark, finishing my whiskey. The voicemails came in waves. First confusion. "Megan, where did you go? They're saying you didn't pay. That's not funny." Then anger. "You embarrassed me. Do you have any idea how this makes me look?" And finally, panic. "They won't let us leave. Just call Carlos. Fix this, please." I didn't call. I found out the rest from Carlos the next morning. Apparently, when the server returned with the remaining $1,820 balance, Ryan laughed. He thought it was a joke. When he realized it wasn't, he turned red, told them there had to be a mistake, said I always paid. The server calmly explained that I had settled my personal bill and left. 12 well-dressed friends suddenly became very quiet. Not one of them reached for a wallet. In the end, Ryan had to put the entire amount on his own credit card. The same card I would later learn was nearly maxed out. He didn't come home that night. Sunday morning, I woke up early. No drama, no yelling, just clarity. I made coffee and opened my laptop. If I had been his sponsor, I wanted to see the ledger. What I found was worse than humiliation. Ryan had a supplementary card linked to my primary business account. It was meant for emergencies, groceries, utilities, shared expenses. Instead, it was filled with designer labels, $5,000 in boutique charges, high-end skincare, rides to private salons, flights I never took, $5,000 in quiet theft. Then I found something else. His influencer growth strategy document, color-coded, polished, ambitious. One section outlined his plan for long-term private funding to stabilize brand identity. Under potential investors, there was only one real name, mine. I wasn't his girlfriend. I was infrastructure. That afternoon, I packed his belongings. Not angrily, not violently, carefully. I folded his clothes, wrapped his camera equipment in bubble wrap, boxed his limited edition sneakers like they were museum pieces. By evening, everything he owned sat stacked neatly in the spare bedroom. Then I called the phone company and removed his line from my plan. I called the insurance provider and took him off my auto policy. Each call felt surgical. Monday afternoon, he showed up. He had his key, but I had already slid the chain across the door. When he tried to push it open, it stopped. "We need to talk," he said, his voice tight. "I agree," I replied calmly, "but I need clarification first." He frowned. "About what? Is this a conversation between a boyfriend and girlfriend? Or between a woman and her sponsor?" The color drained from his face. "That was a joke," he snapped. "You're being dramatic." "Was it a joke when you spent $5,000 on my business card?" I asked. He froze. "Was it a joke when you listed me as private funding in your influencer plan?" His silence was louder than shouting. "I've packed your things," I continued. "You have 48 hours to arrange pickup." "You can't just kick me out." "I'm not kicking you out," I said evenly. "I'm terminating a sponsorship agreement." I closed the door, locked it. The calls resumed. This time I answered one. "You have until Wednesday," I told him. "After that, your belongings go into storage at your expense." Then I hung up. Tuesday morning, while I was reviewing a municipal bid proposal at work, my phone rang again. Carlos. His voice sounded strained. "Megan, we have a problem." And I knew before he even said it that Ryan had made his next mistake. "Megan, we received a chargeback notification." I leaned back in my office chair and closed the door. "A chargeback?" I asked calmly. "Yes. Ryan Daniels disputed the full birthday dinner charge. He's claiming it was fraudulent. Says he didn't authorize it." Of course he did. For a moment, I almost laughed. He wasn't trying to avoid embarrassment anymore. He was trying to erase it. "What's the amount?" I asked. $2,000. We'll have to fight it. Provide proof he was present. It's a mess." I stared at the skyline outside my office window. The city looked orderly, predictable, governed by contracts and consequences. "Carlos," I said evenly, "don't worry about the money. I'll personally cover the charge so the restaurant isn't exposed." There was a pause. Relief. "That's incredibly generous, Megan. I just need one small favor." "Anything." "Send me a copy of the official dispute form, the one he signed." 5 minutes later, the PDF landed in my inbox. I opened it slowly. There it was, the digital form submitted to his bank. The transaction listed clearly. The claim marked fraud, unauthorized charge. And at the bottom, his signature, Ryan Daniels, attesting under penalty of law that he had not authorized the charge. My jaw didn't tighten. My heart didn't race. It simply settled. He hadn't just embarrassed himself. He had committed credit card fraud. And he had handed me the proof. The next call I made wasn't emotional. It was strategic. My attorney answered on the second ring. "Afternoon, Megan. I need a letter drafted," I said, "today." By evening, the courier had delivered it to the apartment where Ryan was temporarily staying. Inside were 3 documents. The restaurant bill, the signed fraud dispute, a formal promissory note. The letter outlined 2 options. Option A, sign the attached agreement. Acknowledging a debt of $7,000, the $2,000 I covered for the restaurant, and the $5,000 charged to my business account. Strict repayment schedule, legal enforcement. Option B, refuse. And I would forward the fraud documentation to the restaurant, support them in filing a police report, and pursue civil action for the misused business funds. I wasn't threatening him. I was outlining reality. He called me that night. His voice was unrecognizable. No arrogance, no sarcasm, just fear. "You can't do this," he whispered. "I'm not doing anything," I replied. "You filed a fraudulent claim with a financial institution. I simply have a copy." "It was a mistake." "No," I interrupted gently. "Calling me your sponsor was a mistake. This was a decision." Silence. "I don't want to ruin your life, Ryan," I continued, "but I won't subsidize it either." He exhaled shakily. "If I sign, this goes away." "It remains civil," I said. "You repay what you owe. We move on." The next afternoon, he signed. A friend of his notarized the document. I almost felt sorry for that friend, witnessing the exact moment a curated lifestyle collapsed into ink and obligation. When I received the scanned copy with his signature, I felt nothing dramatic. Just closure. He had tried to dispute a dinner bill. Instead, he legally bound himself to years of repayment. Sometimes entitlement isn't loud. Sometimes it's sloppy. And sloppiness leaves paper trails. 4 months passed. Every month on the 1st, a small payment lands in my account. It isn't much, but it's consistent. Consistency is something Ryan never understood. It has been 4 months since Ryan's birthday dinner. 4 months since the word sponsor cracked something open inside me. His life unraveled quickly after he signed the promissory note. The friend he was staying with asked him to leave within 2 weeks. Apparently, having a potential fraud case hovering nearby wasn't good for anyone's brand. He moved back in with his parents, 2 hours outside the city, in the same suburban house he once mocked for being aesthetic poison. His social media feed changed almost overnight. Gone were the rooftop cocktails and curated vacation shots. In their place, old photos recycled, vague motivational quotes, sponsored ads for discount grooming kits. Without my apartment as a backdrop, without my money fueling the illusion, the algorithm lost interest. So did his friends. The same group who laughed when he called me his sponsor stopped inviting him to private dinners once he couldn't front the bill. He eventually took an entry-level position at an insurance firm. 9 to 5. Business casual. Steady. The irony didn't escape me. Every month, the repayment hits my account. A quiet reminder that actions mature into consequences, whether we are ready for them or not. As for me, peace settled in first. Then growth. The money I had once funneled into luxury SUVs and influencer trips went back into my company. We secured 2 major municipal contracts within 3 months. I reinvested in equipment, expanded the fleet, gave my entire crew performance bonuses. The day I handed those envelopes out, watching men who had worked beside me for years grin like kids on Christmas morning, I realized something simple. I had always known how to invest. I had just chosen the wrong portfolio. About 2 months ago, I started dating again. His name is Ethan Carter. He's 48, a landscape architect who owns his own small firm. Thoughtful, practical, slightly stubborn. We met because I hired his company to design the landscaping for my new office building. He showed up in work boots and stayed late to adjust irrigation plans himself. The first thing he ever said to me wasn't about my business. It was, "You built this from scratch, didn't you?" Not how much is it worth. Not what can it do for me. Just recognition. Last week, I took him to the Oak Room. Carlos nearly beamed when he saw me. "Megan Foster," he said warmly. "Welcome back." He brought over a bottle of champagne on the house. "To new beginnings," he toasted. Ethan looked amused. "You must be very popular here." "I'm just a good customer who believes in paying her bills," I replied. Dinner felt easy. We talked about soil quality and municipal bidding wars and childhood stories neither of us had shared in years. When the bill came, Ethan reached for it. I reached too. We both laughed. We split it without discussion. As we stood to leave, I noticed a woman at the bar arguing with the bartender over the price of a cocktail. Too much makeup, too bright lipstick, frustration tight around her shoulders. It took me a moment to recognize Madison, one of the friends who had laughed the loudest that night. Our eyes met. Recognition flickered across her face. Then something else. Embarrassment. She looked away quickly. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't feel anger. She was simply a ghost from a chapter already closed. Ethan slipped his hand into mine as we walked out into the cool night air. The city lights reflected off the pavement. The world felt steady beneath my heels. I wasn't someone's sponsor. I wasn't someone's private investor. I wasn't an ATM disguised as affection. I was Megan Foster. I sponsor my own life now.